this morning, cash in the age of COVID-19. The pandemic appears to be accelerating the rise of digital currency. Here in the U.S., mobile payments have spiked dramatically since the outbreak. In the U.K., the BBC reports ATM withdrawals are down 60%. China's central bank has reportedly been disinfecting banknotes, while many businesses around the world are asking customers not to use cash at all. It's all making some wonder if the digital dollar is the new king of currency. Brook Silva Braga followed the money.
At the Green Market in New York's Union Square.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
The She-Wolf Bakery has a request. Please pay with card or phone. You're actively asking people not to use cash.
We're not demanding it, but we're asking it, you know.
Shopper Becky Shepard doesn't need to be asked twice.
Germs all over, but money is very filthy.
Before paying employees with the cash they get, the Mountain Sweetberry Farm says they now cook it.
So there's a steaming tray with holes, and we lay the money out and steam it. Boom, clean money.
Interesting. Does that make you feel more safe?
Yes. Yes. Any step that we can to make us feel a little safer and to make everybody else feel a little safer, we're going to do.
It's worth noting there haven't been any documented cases of coronavirus spread through cash. It survives much better on plastic, like a credit card or credit card reader. And yes, the biggest danger at checkout is probably in the air, where the droplets carrying the virus are believed to most often spread.
Have a wonderful day.
But fear may be driving new spending habits anyway. In the first quarter of the year, MasterCard reported a 40% jump in the use of contactless payment options. That's when you wave a card or phone past a reader without even touching it. Peter Rudiger covers digital payments for the Wall Street Journal. What are my contactless payment options?
The big one is with your phone. If you have an iPhone, use Apple Pay. If you have an Android phone, use Google Pay. A Samsung phone, Samsung Pay. So that is your credit card. It's just your credit card stored on your phone. And what these payment methods have lacked for a long time is just a reason that it's more convenient to use them than your credit card. But if I say, what if now it's just safer because you don't have to touch a screen, you can just tap your phone, I think that'll convince more people.
There's another big factor driving the shift in transactions. So much of what we used to do in person has had to move online.
Yeah, looks like I'm online on all the platforms.
For years, Katie Ferrara traveled the world and opened her guitar case.
My heart open, I roam the world.
Now, she streams shows from her living room in LA.
It's a record in my mind playing again and again.
In an hour, she can make $200.
And how do people pay you?
They can pay through PayPal, and then I also use Venmo.
PayPal and Venmo are actually sister companies that both let users send money with a few taps on a phone or computer. And they're both run by CEO Dan Schulman. Are there ways that people are using your service that are new, that are maybe even surprising?
What you're seeing is an acceleration of some trends that were always happening in the background, but now are dramatically accelerating.
One of them is a blurring of the line between e-commerce and traditional retail, like paying by scanning a curbside QR code and avoiding a register altogether.
I think you're already seeing retailers who are getting ready to open, who are reimagining the way that they do the checkout experience. In fact, some of them are going to have just checkout lanes for cash only. And so think about it as sort of easy pass and cash only tolls on highways. You're going to see a separation of checkout.
But if cash gets harder to use, what happens to the 20 million Americans living in households without a bank account? An earlier push to go cashless spurred a backlash and laws requiring businesses to take it. The first was passed in Philadelphia by City Councilman William Greenlee, who we profiled last fall.
Telling people who do not have the ability to have credit that you can't buy a basic product is not treating people fairly.
But with digital transactions here to stay, Senator Sherrod Brown is legislating in the other direction.
The bill aims to get the unbanked banked.
The Ohio Democrat is proposing to give every American a debit card linked to a free bank account. You'd sign up at a local bank branch or even the post office.
We call it a Fed account. it would be administered through the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve has the technology to do this.
If for whatever reason legislation like this can't get passed, do you think the private sector steps in and kind of solves this problem?
No, I think there's some things the private sector doesn't do. I mean, the banks don't really seem interested in low-income people because they can't make a lot of money off them. So that's why we want to allow our post offices and our community banks working with the Federal Reserve to give people that option.
That'll be $9, your cash or Venmo.
But back at the farmers market, we noticed many shoppers were still using cash.
You know, we saw right when the coronavirus happened, big withdrawals from ATMs and banks. And there's something about cash that people just don't want to entirely give up.
Even in the age of Corona, cash isn't quite ready to give up its crown.
A lot of the older people, when we say we take cash or Venmo, they'll say, "What's Venmo?" And my answer is something you don't have.
For CBS This Morning, Saturday, Brook Silva Braga, New York.
That's pretty good. Something you don't have. But I mean, Dana, there are a lot of people who still like to deal with cash. Although that debit card idea, if everyone has one, then you're cashless, but you can still use it.
Yeah, I mean, the idea obviously is to make sure that everybody has that access. And it is interesting. I'm a Venmo or an Apple Pay person, but I found myself also going to get cash because I still have in the back of my mind what happens if we can't access something digitally, electronically, that kind of thing. We will see as we go ahead.